That's what I kept telling myself as I pulled into the gravel lot of Coyote Fuel and Go. My headlights swept across the weathered sign, the neon coyote flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay lit or surrender to the darkness. The station sat alone on Highway 160, a solitary outpost in the vast emptiness of the Navajo Nation. Red rock mesas loomed in the distance, their silhouettes barely visible against the night sky. I killed the engine of my beat-up Civic and sat, for a moment, listening to the tick of cooling metal. The desert night pressed against my windows, a living, breathing thing. Out here, 30 miles from the nearest town, darkness had weight, substance. My phone buzzed. "Danny," I answered, forcing cheer into my voice. "Miggs, you at work?" His voice sounded clearer than it had in months. Rehab was doing him good. Just got here, first night. "How you holding up? Better group therapy today?" Talked about, the stuff with the car. My stomach tightened. "Danny, no, it's good. I'm owning it, that's what they say." Here he paused. "You didn't have to take this job, Miggs." "Not for me." I watched a moth batter itself against the fluorescent lights above the gas pumps. It's good money. Besides, how hard can it be to run a register and watch people pump gas in the middle of nowhere at night? Danny's laugh was brittle. "Just be careful, okay? Always am." After hanging up, I grabbed my backpack and stepped into the night. The air smelled of dust and gasoline, with something else underneath, something metallic and strange. Heat still radiated from the asphalt despite the late hour. August in Arizona never really cooled, just became slightly less punishing after sunset. The bell above the door jingled as I entered. The interior was exactly what you'd expect. Linoleum floors worn thin by decades of boots, shelves stocked with beef jerky and energy drinks, a coffee station that had seen better days. A dusty boombox on the counter played classic rock, the volume low enough that it was more texture than sound. "You must be Miguel." I turned to find a man emerging from the back room. Hank Yazy looked exactly like his voice had sounded on the phone, weathered, substantial, with deep creases around his eyes that suggested a lifetime of squinting into the sun. His silver hair was pulled back in a short ponytail, and turquoise stones gleamed at his wrists. "Call me Miggs," I said, extending my hand. His grip was dry and firm. "Hank, owner, manager, and sometimes janitor." He gestured around. "Welcome to Coyote Fuel and Go. Not much to look at, but it pays the bills. Thanks for the opportunity. Not many places hiring at this wage." Something flickered across Hank's face, too quick to read. "Night shifts? Not for everyone. Last 3 guys quit within a week." "Their loss," I said with more confidence than I felt. Hank nodded toward the bulletproof booth behind the register. "You'll work from in there. Door locks automatically. At 10 p.m. after that, all transactions happen through the drawer." The booth looked like a relic from another era, its glass webbed with fine cracks. A stool, register, and small desk fan occupied the cramped space. Not exactly comfortable, but it would do. "Training's pretty straightforward," Hank continued, leading me behind the counter. "Register's old but reliable. Gas pumps need to be authorized from here," pointed to a panel of switches. "Security cameras cover the pumps and store. Panic button under the counter calls the tribal police, but they're about 40 minutes out, so don't panic." I offered a smile. He didn't return it. "There are rules here, Miggs. Important ones." I nodded, suddenly aware of the weight in his voice. "First, never sell jerky, tobacco, or Slim Jims to anyone with yellow eyes." I waited for the punchline. It didn't come. "Yellow eyes," I repeated, like jaundice. "You'll know it when you see it." Hank's expression remained deadly serious. "Second, if the pumps start leaking black fluid, not gas, something darker, lock the doors immediately and play track 3 on that boombox. Don't stop it until the leaking stops." I glanced at the ancient cassette player. "What's on track 3? "A chant, old Navajo prayer." He waved away my question. "Third most important, never answered the payphone." He pointed to a faded blue payphone mounted on the wall near the bathrooms. It looked like it hadn't been used since the 90s. "Does it even work? Shouldn't? Any questions? A dozen?" but something in his expression warned me not to ask them. No, sir. No jerky. For yellow eyes, play track 3. For black leaks, ignore the phone. Got it. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Good, I'll be back at dawn to relieve you. Emergency numbers are by the register. The cell service is spotty out here, so don't count on it.
After
A cursory tour of the stockroom and bathroom, Hank headed for the door. He paused with his hand on the frame. One more thing. Between 2 and 4 a.m., things can get strange. Just follow the rules, and you'll be fine. Before I could ask what he meant, he was gone, the bell jingling in his wake. Through the windows, I watched his pickup disappear down the highway, taillights swallowed by darkness. Just like that, I was alone. The first few hours passed uneventfully. I familiarized myself with the register, organized the candy rack, and scrolled through my phone until the signal finally gave out. By midnight, I'd had exactly 2 customers. A local woman buying cigarettes and a bleary-eyed college kid filling up his tank on the way to Flagstaff. At 1:30 a.m., the bell jingled. A trucker built like a refrigerator lumbered in his arms. Decorated with faded tattoos, a rattlesnake curled around his forearm, its diamond pattern disappearing under his sleeve. Evening, I called from the booth. He grunted in response, making his way to the drinks cooler. As he bent to grab a Red Bull, something odd caught my eye. His shadow on the wall seemed wrong longer than it should be. With strange protrusions from the head that looked almost like antlers, I blinked and it was normal again. The trucker approached the booth, setting down the energy drink and a lighter. "Pump 4, he said, sliding across a $20 bill. As I rang him up, I noticed a peculiar smell like wet fur and something burnt. I breathed through my mouth. "Long haul?" I asked, making conversation to distract myself. Always is. His voice was gravel and smoke. "You're new." It wasn't a question. First night, he pocketed his change without counting it. It won't be many. Before I could respond, he turned and walked out. Through the window, I watched him fuel his semi. Movements were stiff, mechanical. When he finished, he stared directly at the store for a long moment before climbing into his cab and pulling away. I released a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. The digital clock on the register blinked at 2 a.m. Things can get strange, Hank had said. I shook my head, trying to dislodge the unease settling at the base of my skull. Just road fatigue and poor lighting playing tricks. Nothing more. The bell jingled again. A woman stood in the doorway, her sundress white in the fluorescent light. She moved with an odd, gliding step toward the jerky display, her back to me. Dark stains mottled the fabric of her dress oil, maybe. "Can I help you find something?" She turned slowly. Her face was ordinary enough, middle-aged, lined around the eyes and mouth, but something about her gaze made my skin prickle. She approached the booth, holding a package of beef jerky. "Just this," she said, her voice surprisingly melodic as she slid the jerky toward me. Our fingers almost touched. I caught a whiff of something rotten beneath flowery perfume. When I looked up to tell her the price, my words died in my throat. Her eyes had changed. Irises expanded, swallowing the whites, glowing a jaundiced yellow in the harsh light. "I'm sorry," I said, my mouth dry. "We're out of jerky." Her lips pulled back, revealing teeth too sharp, too numerous. "Don't lie to me, boy." "Store policy," I managed. "I can't sell this to you." The yellow in her eyes flared for a moment. I thought she might try to break through the glass. Instead, she leaned closer, her breath fogging the partition. "You'll starve them," she hissed. Then she was gone. The rest of the night passed in a blur of hypervigilance. I jumped at every sound, the ice machines cycling, the refrigerators humming, the occasional distant howl that might have been wind, or might have been something else entirely. No more customers came. I was grateful for that. Dawn arrived like a reprieve, pale light seeping across the horizon, illuminating the red mesas in the distance. I'd never been so happy to see the sun. The rumble of an approaching vehicle drew my attention. Hank's pickup pulled into the lot, dust billowing behind it. He looked unsurprised to find the doors locked, waiting patiently as I disengaged the security system. "How was your first night?" he asked as he entered, his eyes scanning. My face. "Quiet," I lied. "Just a couple of customers." He nodded, seemingly satisfied. "Till gets counted at shift change. You can head out once we're done." As we counted the register, I debated whether to mention the phone call or the leaking pump. Something held me back, a nagging suspicion. That Hank already knew that these rules of his weren't precautions, but expectations. "Found something interesting last night," I said instead, pulling out the Polaroid. Fell out when I was checking the register. His expression didn't change, but his hand, reaching for the photo, hesitated almost imperceptibly. "Old Halloween photo," he said, taking it from me. "Me and a buddy dressed up. Must have been 20 years ago now." Caption says, "Feeding time. Just a joke. Halloween, you know, spooky stuff." His explanation made sense, yet something in his tone rang false. Before I could press further, he pulled an envelope from his back pocket. "Almost forgot. Bonus for completing your first night." Inside was a $100 bill. "We give these out for the first week. Helps with retention." The money felt like a bribe, though for what, I couldn't say. Still, I thought of Danny of the rehab. Center's monthly fee, and pocketed the envelope. "Thanks. See you tonight." Hank nodded. Same time. He paused, his dark eyes unreadable. "Oh, and Migs, if you used the bathroom last night, did you notice anything unusual in the mirror?" The question caught me off guard. Should I have? He held my gaze a moment longer, then shook his head. "Just checking. Some of the previous guys complained about the lighting in there, said it played tricks." Sighed. The morning was already warming, the air shimmering above the asphalt. I sat in my car, key in the ignition, but didn't start it immediately. Instead, I pulled out my phone now, working again, and searched Skinwalker Navajo legend. The results made my stomach clench. Shapeshifters, Navajo witches who could take animal form. Yellow eyes, unnatural movements, the ability to mimic. Voices of loved ones. I thought of the woman in the sundress, her eyes changing color. The trucker's shadow with its antler-like protrusions. The voice on the phone that knew things it shouldn't. Most disturbing were the accounts of Skinwalkers' preferred hunting grounds, isolated places, crossroads, areas where the boundary between worlds grew thin. No places exactly like coyote fuel. And go, I started the car, suddenly eager to put distance between myself and the station. As I pulled onto the highway, I glanced in my rearview mirror. For just a moment, I thought I saw something standing by pump number 4, a tall, thin figure watching me leave. I blinked, and it was gone. At home, I collapsed into bed without. Showering, exhaustion, finally overtaking anxiety. My dreams were fragmented, uneasy, red sand shifting beneath my feet, yellow eyes watching from darkness, Danny's voice calling from somewhere I couldn't reach. I woke to my phone ringing. The clock read for 17 p.m., Migs? You there? Danny's voice was tense. Yeah, just woke up. I rubbed my face, trying to clear the fog of sleep. You okay? Had another dream, the same one, but worse. Mom was. She wasn't right, Migs. Her face kept changing. She said you were in danger, that you were feeding something that shouldn't be fed. A chill ran through me, despite the afternoon heat. It's just a dream, Danny. The meds they give you there can cause weird dreams. You didn't sound convinced. Just be careful, okay? That job. Something feels off about it. He had no idea how right he was. The smart thing would be to quit, call Hank, make up an excuse. Never go back to that place with its strange rules and leaking pumps and impossible phone calls. But the reality of my situation hadn't changed. Danny's rehab wasn't cheap. My savings were nearly depleted, and jobs paying $30 an hour didn't come along every day, especially for ex-cons with nothing but mechanic skills and a GED. Thought of the $100 bonus in my pocket? 7 nights of this, 7 bonuses, plus the hourly wage, would be enough to cover next month's rehab payment. With some left over, I could handle 6 more nights. whatever was happening at Coyote. Fuel and go, whatever games Hank was playing, I just needed to follow the rules and keep my head down. The desert doesn't forget, my grandmother used to say, but I wasn't part of this desert. This land with its ancient spirits and hungry shadows. I was just passing through, collecting a paycheck at least. That's what I told myself as I prepared for my second night at Coyote Fuel and Go, where the pumps leaked darkness and the payphone rang with impossible voices. I was wrong, of course, so terribly wrong.